I would love to say, here's the answer to that question. The short answer to that very good question that I've asked in 7 different forms is the Bible does not say. It seems to us from our perspective, hey, if God knows everything, he knew that sin would happen, and he knew because of sin that death would happen and all this drama and pain that we go through. And therefore we come to the conclusion, like, how could God have known this and still be a good God? I think that's at the heart of that really good question. Some people ask, why did God allow the devil to become the devil? Why didn't God just banish the devil so he couldn't tempt Adam and Eve? Why did he put a tree in the garden? There's like 10 iterations or 10 versions of the same question that basically say, why didn't God stop sin from happening in the world? As a Christian, I'm kind of bound to the answers this book gives, and I really wish God had given me an answer to that question, but he has not. Leads to a second question, well then how can you believe he's good? And I think where I end up in that question is if God, despite the sins that humanity committed, still loved the world so much that he gave his one and only son, that just gives me the faith that I need to trust him even when I don't understand him. There's a great passage in Romans chapter 8. It's a chapter primarily about suffering that we go through. Paul calls like the suffering we go through like birth pains. You ladies have given birth. Paul's admitting the intensity of what we go through. But then he says this, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. The God who did not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will that God not also, along with Jesus, graciously give us all things? So in the midst of the pain and questions, Paul goes back, not only does God have a purpose for our pain, but he's the God who gave his own son to rescue us. So whenever I come to like a Bible question that stumps me, where I say, wow, man, God, I feel like I would have done this differently than you did, and I'm tempted to think maybe God isn't good or doesn't know what he's doing, I always kind of direct my attention to the cross of Jesus and say, wait. If I deserved hell instead of heaven, but God came down to save me, if because all my struggles and sins, like God should have just pushed me away and had nothing to do with me, but instead he came in this amazing rescue plan at Christmas, and it just gave me advice, but gave his own life to forgive my sins, that gives me the faith that I need to trust God when I don't understand him. So I'll say that to you. It might be an intellectual question up here, like, why did God do that? That doesn't make sense. I think for a lot more people, it's more of an emotional question, like, why would God allow this? Why cancer? Why miscarriage? Why divorce? Why was I abused? Like, whenever you come to those questions, either of the head or the heart, we say, God, I just don't get you. I will get back to what we do get and we do grasp about God is that he loved the world so much, he gave his one and only son. For me as a Christian, that's what gives me faith and trust in a God that I don't always understand.